welcome to the Fausty Witches. It's season 2. We're back, Chris, by popular demand. Because we is, at this point, so popular, we've got a whole 3 people watching us right now. So,
oh my God.
So, Chris, are you excited for the next season of Fausty Witches, this season 2 of Fausty Witches, and to begin this season with talking about all things love? Love, yeah.
Is it bad I took that lovely red t-shirt off in order to wear something brown and grudgy for a love show?
Yeah, I think it perfectly sums up your personality. The fact that when they're talking about love and having stereotypical colour correspondences from Mr. Cunningham, the reds and the pinks, that you decided to take that off and get a murky green colour. I think that sums up your personality perfectly. We got our first couple of comments. One of them's just some sort of an emoji. Oh well. So, Love Magic, Chris. Fausty Witches is a show for Fausty nasty witches, and you being the faustiest witch of them all, no doubt you'll say something scandalous about love magic. And I'm here, obviously, to defend all things love, because I'm a very loving person.
That's an interesting role you've gone and put yourself in there. I don't know. Do we want to talk about the rapey kind of love magic, or do we want to call about? Or do we want to call about the stupid kind of love magic, or the kind of hoodoo kind of love magic?
Well, we have talked about love magic before, but in all honesty, I can never remember us talking about the, and I quote Mr. Chris here, rapey sort of love magic. So please, can you explain to us what the hell that is?
I'm talking about the fact that so many, particularly of the, rule of 3 kind of people, like to talk about how attraction magic, etc., is all about love slavery, and is about, you getting people against their will, which is why I'm calling it quote unquote rapey witchy magic. It's because it's this idea that floats around that you're forcing somebody's will, so therefore you're taking their will away. But I just wanted to see how you feel about it,
right? Because
we're not on the paranormal channel, I can say rapey again.
I thought you said Reiki. That's even worse. Chris, you can't make light of subjects like that. You'll get us lynched.
What the fuck? What the fuck was Reiki love magic?
Reiki love magic. Well, that's all I get. I mean, after all,
is that where I have to be in a teepee and I have to wear like
my idea of Reiki love magic is this idea of this person that keeps fucking popping up on my Facebook. God knows I'm going to need to delete my history or something, because no doubt I was looking at something new agey. Because this Melissa person, who's a psychic artist, keeps popping up saying that she's going to draw my soulmate with her psychic abilities and wants $29.99 to do it. Bearing in mind that is reduced from $299.99, so I am getting quite a $270, $270 90%, cheap deal there. But still, that's what I thought. I thought you were making light on the love and lighters, like all them Glastonbury lot,
Moss Eisley Spaceport. You will never find a more wretched hive of scum and villainy. We must be cautious.
I'll tell you what, Glastonbury is one of the places which is kind of the... I don't know, it is love and lighty, right? It's very love and lighty, but there's a seed, an undercurrent of anger and hatred. It's much like, our good Christian friends, some of them. They're very talking about the love and all of that sort of thing, but they're the first ones to be picketing dead soldiers' funerals with fags burn and die in hell with picket boards, that kind of thing, is repression, is what it is. When I go to new agey places like Glastonbury, I sense the repression. I sense the one time if you say, have you got anything that's not vegan on the menu, and get shouted at, you know, because you're one of them, you know, they're all very inclusive, of course, but you're one of them, meat eater types. There is kind of like, yes, there's this just the anger there. I don't know. Where is the love, Chris? Well, the love is being pushed out so synthetically that actually is being powered by hatred, which seeps out like a sneeze.
I'm actually more focusing on the fact that the reason you were
this series has memes. Season 2 of Fausty Witches actually has memes.
Was that the reason you were late to Calypso's consultation earlier? Because you were faffing around with shit like that?
It was not. I did this yesterday, I'll have you know. I was gardening this morning in the community garden because I'm full of love. And I was doing charity work again today.
Who did you kill last week to justify that?
Chris, don't say anything because people could be watching that are related to that. Okay, don't say anything. We'll breeze over that subject of Liam doing charitable stuff and just assume he was up to nefarious activities. I know you all will. And we'll get back onto the actual subject, which is the love magic, Chris. Love magic. Now, I know that we have taken the piss out of love magic before, and I have essentially said and normally left it on, yes, psychics, they are telling you that you will find the one because that is what you want to hear. Yes, no one wants you because, let's be fair, you're unwantable. I mean, you are a fucking state. Look at you paying X amount of money for a candle spell to find your lover. Does that seem the same to you? No, I don't fucking think it is, you know. And we also left it on, I believe, on our last episode to do with love, that actually you need to first love yourself and work on yourself before you can expect anyone to love you. I will quickly elaborate on that by saying...
I was just going to say, is there about to be a RuPaul clip there for you to throw in?
There's no clip. I haven't made many memes, Chris, and I think they will change depending on the episode. This one's to do with love. But I've forgotten. I've lost my trail of thought. I've lost my thread. But
you're going to elaborate on something.
Hi there, Mr. DM and Mr. Chris. I'm not feeling the love at the moment. Well, I'll send you some loving energy. Do you feel that loving energy? Do you? If you do, I'll send you an invoice. $200. What if I create my own love slave? Would the Wiccans be okay with that? I think that some of them would be okay with that as long as they weren't them. And some would consider that to be an insult because, of course, Michelle, who would not want to be your love slave? Moving on. And what would be a good seat for my love slave egregore? Is it cheating if I make it look like Colin Farrell? You can make your love slave egregore look like whatever you want. But just know this, you will sound somewhat crazy if you say you are having a love affair situation, relationship with Colin Farrell, for one. That will make you sound crazy. If you said, I've created a spirit that I do the hanky-panky with, that may also appear somewhat crazy, number 2. And number 3, Michelle, I would be more concerned, I think, with that you feel that you need to create a spirit in egregore and that you cannot find physical man that is not made of clay in which to quench your thirsty nature by the seams of it. And no,
I personally don't think there's just one man in this universe that will quench my thirsty nature, but that's just myself. I don't know about Michelle. And
this is why you're a slut, Chris. Like the idea of a love slave. Oh God, it's catching on. Oh yeah, and there we go. Alison Dark wants Henry Cavill. Who saw that coming? Henry didn't, as she shoved him into a van after she drugged him.
Get in the van.
Get in the van. Anyway, this is supposed to be about love, You ruined it with all the rapey magic, right? We're talking about genuine love. Look at the hearts that surround us, you know, even the scribbled out one that's kind of down there. I did brilliant artwork here for this episode, right? So love. If someone genuinely wants to find love, okay, I'm presuming you're not going to recommend that they buy a psychic artist impression drawn by Melissa from melissapsychic.com, $29.99 for that. I'm presuming that you're going to offer up something a little bit better because you're the fastest super witch.
Yeah.
So what would you recommend for someone that is genuinely, without joking, wants love, they're lonely, you know, they want some love, not all of this player. I know you're a player, Chris, you know, not all of this physical consummation stuff. What they want is they want someone to snuggle with at night who's gonna whisper sweet nothings in their ear, but also is going to, I don't know, die when they reach 50 and leave them a load of money. What is the purpose of love? I don't really get the whole husband-wife thing.
It's going to have to be, I imagine, a love-based charm bag.
Of course. Does one make a love-based charm bag? And how does it
Fill it
work?
with semen.
Is that your semen or is
no?
And would it depend? If you were a girl looking for a guy, would you fill it with semen? How does it work? Because we have to be kind of like very alphabet people focused these days, because it obviously is not like back in the day when you'd get a beard.
Okay. All I'm going to say is it's really hard to harvest eggs, so don't try and do that. I think that's where they normally put the substitutionary locomotion, what do you call it, the symbolism-y stuff. That word I can't stand. Representational magic. There you go.
Right. Well, I don't know, but there is this behind where I live in Bristol. There's a place called we're not allowed to call it the Colston Hall anymore. It's something else. But there's a sex shop behind that. They sell rather long contraptions for inserting. I'm pretty sure that one or two of them could reach up high enough to get maybe some of the eggs or something. I mean, at the very least, you could use it as a wavy wand after, I suppose. I'm
questioning your understanding of biology at this point, Liam. I know you've never been through one because you're platinum gay and all that.
I'm platinum standard. I've never even popped out of one.
That's not kind of how you hatched, yes.
Basically, it was literally quite literally.
You hatched
like that film The Alien. Which is burst out of the belly. Yes, I am told. I was there, but I can't really remember, if I'm honest with you. But no, charm bag for love. Okay, someone wants to find love. We've dispensed with the whole soulmate thing. We've dispensed with the whole twin flame thing. Our educated audience are educated enough to know that that's basically a crock of shit. And that a soulmate doesn't mean someone that you're actually going to love, you know. So love a romantic style, yes, romantic style love. How are you going to make that charm bag? And why are you choosing the charm bag? Is it because it's full of nice smelling herbs and stuff, and the Faustiest witch may be a bit Fausty and pushing the lovers away, or what? The pheromones, Chris?
Rude.
No?
Anyway, I was going to talk about the bag would be an obvious one for attraction magic. So it would be a good idea because obviously that would be involving interacting with your aura space, your energetic bodies that will have a further reach than you physically and your pheromones. So there is that possibility that maybe you want something like that. But what's important is kind of what are you after?
Amazing charm bag, I think, is what Michelle wants. Particularly
a man in a charm bag.
Colin Farrell. She wants the bag to draw these Colin Farrells towards them. I get the impression she's got a thing for Colin Farrell. I don't know where I got that from, but that's the impression I get. Call it intuition or psychic senses, but yeah, I think she's got a thing for him.
Okay, I think Miss Cleo's got nothing on you, is all I'm going to say, Liam. You are so perceptive.
Thank you. That's the nicest thing you've ever said to me.
At some point, I suppose we need to take this seriously and actually provide some information. But
yeah, I'm asking
quite
you
happy
about how to make a fucking charm bag, and you know, it's one of the most basic things someone can do. And given all of your experience of teaching how to make a fucking charm bag, I thought you could spit something out. Ideally, something that along the lines of you get a nice little baggie, you go on a walk. You know, go for it, Chris.
Oh, okay. No, we don't do. Okay, the difference will be is, are we assuming, like Michelle, that we've got to get somebody there in the first place, or are we wanting to actually keep somebody?
Right, I'm presuming that we have some spinster that cannot find love. Obviously, they may not have a lot of things going for them, hence why they cannot find the love. No one's interested,
Okay.
right? So what we need to do is we're not going to be unethical and make love slaves like the rest of the people that listen to this show would probably do. Instead, what we're going to do is we're going to try and create some kind of charm bag that is going to mean that that person is going to fall in love with someone, they're going to fall in love with the person, and they'll live happily ever after, like on some sort of romance Disney film or something. What we're not going to do is we're not going to force someone to love the person. And I'm presuming that we haven't got enough time for the person to undergo a considerable amount of self-reflection, shadow work, blah, 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 in order to make the person love themselves and actually care about them. Nor do we think that they're actually going to probably, like, you know, eat healthy, join a gym, give up smoking and stop swearing and cussing at random people. They're a prick, basically, but they want love.
Okay.
How do we help them?
And it sounds like you want Disney love as opposed to Pornhub love, yes? Because that sounded like that was the stipulation you were making.
I have clicked the love tab on Gay Pornhub, and there was a lot more cuddling, a lot less aggression. But yes, all in all, I think it's going to be less of the Pornhub thing version and more of the, you know, nicey Disney version. But they don't want a cartoon, because that would be creepy. That's like people that are obsessed with sex dolls and stuff like that. We want a genuine, you know, actual man or woman for this person to, or whatever in between, for this person to fall in love with. And it needs to be mutual both ways. And you can use the charm bag approach if you'd like to use the charm bag approach, or you can come up with another approach if you'd like. But educational side is this.
Okay. Educationally, we've got a couple of options we could throw out for the very beginners, which, let's face it, this is what Fausty is designed for. Yes, no.
Chris, I'm pretty sure you're lying. I'm pretty sure the Fausty is really just designed for basically a load of bitching. I'd basically call you a liar at this point, because you know exactly what Faust is about.
Why the fuck you lying? Why you always lying? Oh my god, stop fucking lying.
Yeah, you're a liar. Also, if you could put a little bit in about love triangles, that would be grand.
I'm still in shock that you're just going to do this kind of shit. Wow. Okay, carry on. So, educational portion, #educational. So,
I've really fucked you up with the
Liam?
memes. I knew it would really screw with you.
Anyway, yeah. So if we stuck with the kind of the charm baggy bit, what we could do is kind of say, you know, that we need a bog standard attraction spell, and you could use it like a wish list. So the bag could be made of something that you like tactile feel of, and then stuff it with kind of herbs that you like the sense of. Obviously, hopefully, the muskier ones, because you're not going to want the sweet and necessarily the sweety kind of flavors that, you know, I'm assuming this is a woman after a man.
Why would you assume that?
Because most straight men, when they resort to, at this point, they're not going to necessarily resort to magic. What they're normally, when they get to that desperate stage, is they're either going to buy one in terms of, you know, mail order bride, or they're going to go for the stick, you know, in the van, get in the van kind of approach, is where horny men tend to go. So I'm assuming this is a woman chasing a man or another woman.
Well,
I don't care.
Some of our audience are, I don't know if there's any straight men listening, let's be fair, but there are some men listening. The closest person to a man I think we've got listening is Eric. Eric likes both, so that's basically, he's a one-up to us, hasn't he? But yeah, so imagine that, you know, just the distinctions between if you're going for a man or if you're going for a woman. Would there be any changes with your charm bag? Would you change it, you know? And would you be putting stuff in that you like, or what you would imagine the person to like, you know? Just the kind of details, really, because it's all in the details. That's the bit that's got Cunningham.
There were two schools of thought on that. There'll be the ones that want to magnify what you've already got. So you would use your own aftershave and things like that, or your own perfume and things like that, and maximize what you've already got. Or you go for the attraction part and go for the fact that actually you put the things that attract you in there, almost like a wish list. So depending on what you're actually, where you think, you know, bearing in mind Liam has described this woman as a complete crone. I'm assuming that highlighting her natural talents is probably not the direction you're going to go in, and therefore you're going to opt for the attraction part, which is finding the things that you like in that other person, and obviously stuffing the bag with those sorts of things in the hope that that kind of magnetism will occur of like attracting like, and pulling in something that represents that. So those are the kind of two core parts. What they're actually made of is entirely up to you. So to me, if it's going for a charm bag point of view, the person that's going to be carrying it needs to be able to be okay with the tactileness of it. So, you know, if you're making it for somebody else, they should like how the bag feels on the outside, because ultimately it's them that's going to have it against their skin, or is going to have it on their person. You don't want them to recoil from the item that's designed to attract, is what I'm trying to say. So again, colors that suit you, or colors that are representative of the person that you want, and then combining those items in the normal triangle way of kind of making sure that the, you know, intent, journey, and the energy sources are all in there. So that might be that the ingredients you're using to power it will fit into those categories. So it'll be a case of going, okay, what am I going to use as an energy source? Charm bags are generally attached to that energy source of the person they're in contact with, because it allows that to switch on and off. Which means really you're going to only use the bag when you're out and about, which is why they're so efficient, is they're only switched on when when they're in contact with you, which means when you're asleep and you're not really looking for somebody, you're not going to necessarily need that part, or that's going to translate to Henry Cavill coming into your dreams rather than it actually going into the manifestation part, which is, I'm assuming, is the part you really want, not just to have lots of sexy dreams. So, you know, there's that kind of part of understanding what is needed at where. My next favorite method, going from the kind of beginner's end, would be to use some kind of puppet again with the poppet, making it out of something tactile that you like. People tend to obsess a little bit too much with what a poppet looks like. That part's not important. And then just stuffing it with things that you like, or like I said, if it's for you, to highlight the factors that apparently people are overlooking, then you could fashion it to look like you, and therefore to magnetize what you magnify rather, the bit that you're trying to make happen. So, you know, but you're needing to make sure that if either of these methods is magnifying something that is good about you, think is good about you, it's important to think about, are they the things that people think are good about you, or are they just the things that you think are good about you? Because those two things can be different. But yeah, so those would be my kind of two for beginners, would be one of those two methods. Obviously there are umpteen methods. You know, we could talk about abracadabras, we could talk about sigil magic. There's all of the methods that you can apply to any kind of spell casting can work here. So that is kind of, you know, it really depends on how you actually want that to occur. I know that Liam did this amazing one at one point where we had those two skull candles that were kind of kissing, which meant from above, like a bird's eye view, they look like a heart. Like that was one of the most creative things I think Liam's ever achieved.
Thanks. It's the second nicest thing you've ever said.
So, you know, there is that kind of part. What I will do is now jump on to the Deanna bit of kind of how you deal with love triangles, just to make sure we keep up with the comments.
It's a theme amongst our Patreons, I do think. Love triangles. I know we're all a fan of triangles, being magical folk, but love triangles and magic, interesting. So yes.
But the first part of it is actually, if you are part of a love triangle, is it healthy? So my first point would be, can you check with yourself? Do you actually want this to work? Or is it, you know, something that you actually need to get rid of? In which case, what you might need to do is some kind of uncrossing spell or something like that, in order to kind of terminate whichever part of it needs to terminate. So that could be that you need to actually do something that represents all three of you and then see it kind of breaking. I've seen some kinds of spells where you have a set of candles that represent each other. They're then twisted up all together. You light the fuse and essentially see who breaks first. And I've seen those kind of uncrossing spells that are quite interesting. But it really depends on whether you think that is this a deserving thing? Is it a case of, I deserve this person more, or there is more and this person's in the way? If it's one of those kind of situations, then obviously it's about jettisoning the spare, which is a very different kind of magic. But that really depends on you. So I think the first thing we need to do is actually ascertain what's worth, and what's the right course of action for you. You know,
it may change over time, so it's basically important that although you may be in a love triangle and that may be the situation at the moment, it may not change. So it's keeping an eye on what's going on and how the relationships ships, because there are several people involved, obviously, how it's changing over time. You can use divination, magical, psychic work and that to look at that. I was curious, Chris, if you happen to cross someone, maybe you're out milling about the shops or something like that, and a woman walks past and she has a little charm bag or something like that that's designed to draw love in. Would you sense that or see that or feel that even if you weren't necessarily the target demographic because you're sensitive towards energies? Or would it only be something that would be a current or an energy that is likely to be noticed by the targets or potential targets, potential future husbands for, I don't know, old woman called Karen?
Okay. So for me, if Karen was to go past and she was using this method, then I would probably, or at least that's my assumption in what I've seen in the past, looks more like a interference with her field. So to me, I would see that the color had changed and that you could see that there was a strange color to it. So as in kind of where, because I tend to see colors in their purest form. So for me, it would be a case of, oh, okay, that one looks murky. So either that person's having a bad time and it's in the process of changing from one color to another, or it's been impacted in some way. So because any kind of charm bag for me is designed to change that aura space. So that's where you would see it. What you tend to find when people use different kinds of spells is where you would see it. So poppet work, you could, for me, I normally see a thread line to where the poppet exists. So to me, it's kind of like people caught in webs, and you can kind of see where that fate line is, shall we say. But it's tricky because, you know, I like to keep most of that switched off. So it would kind of be like, oh, strange smell over here. Let's switch the lights on.
So it's viewable, but you would see it more as, oh, there's magic afoot, there's magical interference or conversions around a person's energy field, morphic field, whatever you want to call it, but not so much, oh, love spell, oh, look, there's love spell, that kind of thing. Is more because of, though someone's using some kind of glamour magic, and that would potentially be echoed in confidence, protection, various different spells. It's just kind of like, I would see it probably more like, you know, when you get a really hot surface, like the bonnet of a car on a hot day, and you've got that kind of heat going. It's just a shimmer. You can see through it, and it doesn't
mirage
attract your attention, but it's just a very slight thing, kind of, oh, there's something magical going on. I think we've got another one from Eric. Is it possible to craft a glamour on someone to see or think of you in order to condition them to be comfortable with the thought of being with you? Make it their idea. I wouldn't have said glamour. I would normally utilize the dream work for that. So I'd make them have dreams that you were in. So whether you play a focal role in them or not doesn't really matter, but the very fact that you're present in their unconscious and present in their unconscious positively, you can up it from that. I would personally use dream walking for that. And no, please do not start accusing me, patrons and people listening, of dream walking you. I think we've both been accused of that enough. We've got better things to do.
I've got that expert of love here that Seth met. Look.
Oh gosh. Yes, hello. I think someone's put in our reviews that they liked Tiger, actually.
Yes, I did see your little banner.
Yeah, we've got several banners with several different reviews on it. I've been going through. We've got quite a few really nice reviews. Look, I love this. This is gold. Loving your adorable mugs, blessed be. I have been really enjoying your content. It's refreshing, to say the least. These are comments, actual real-life comments from the FOF TV. I would absolutely use a bull's testicle over a crystal. Well, yes, Adele, I think we all would probably prefer to use a bull's testicle over a crystal. I'm not too sure about the context of that specific message, but I know it was on a Fausty Witches video, therefore I copy and pasted it. You know?
So we kind of jumped a couple of other comments, so I'll jump back in again. So Michelle said something about, I did love that love spell video, really brilliant. So I think that was your spell casting course.
Ah, yes. So I did a love spell that was designed to be more of a compass, because what I do dislike is the forcing of someone to love you. So with those, I tend to see them go quite wrong. Also, I find that most people don't actually know what they want. So asking them, as many spells do, to put down the qualities and stuff, kind of like I did in that video. But what that spell's designed to do is not to pull, like the charm bag to a certain extent, pull the person towards you. It's actually to pull you towards wolves, and you get pulled towards various people that have the characteristics of that. And then you basically end up whittling down potentials that are in front of you. It's kind of like the magical spell work equivalent of one of those dating shows where they have to vote them off, you know? That kind of thing. That's where
Bachelor.
I drew the inspiration from. Yeah, like The Bachelor, innit?
Okay.
But yeah.
So Deanna also made some comments. So she said, I put sigils in charm bags. I was kind of intrigued by this one because obviously there's the way I use sigils whenever I use them versus the way that other people use them. And there are several main schemes of thought. And the one obviously Deanna's talking about there is where you've kind of got your own language for what you want, so that therefore, rather than you having to put it into words, by translating into a symbol, like Liam likes to say, her photo is 1,000 words. That kind of part of kind of going, in that image, you can hold an entire myriad of things all in one without it being a shopping list. Whereas obviously the method I tend to only ever use sigils for are kind of like the charge and release kind. So that kind of part of, drawing the sigil to pull in a certain kind of energy and then releasing it, or the equivalent of that where you charge the sigil by it being seen. So at that point, you're kind of innocuously making it so unnoticeable, blend into the background so that it can be seen by as many people as possible in order to charge it up and then kind of releasing it. But that's kind of, for me, the charge and release is what I tend to use sigils for, more so than the kind of secret writing shortcut, which is what sounds like Deanna's method in that example is like. The other thing she was saying is, I think, was to refer to the love triangle. Was a person in this way? The person is in the way. So obviously, if it is you need to jettison the third person, then those are much easier to do because they're not love magic at all. Is where you either have to use Eric's version and put a glamour space in the way to actually make them not notice the third person, I find is the cleanest way, because then that normally tends to push animosity between those two people and they get jettisoned naturally. Whereas obviously there are more nefarious ways that Liam would probably talk about, like, ensnaring them and putting thoughts in their head and that sort of thing, where you're doing mind control.
You could do a love spell and make the third person fall in love with someone else and leave the love spell. That's potentially what I would do. That will kill them off. It depends on how sour the relationship is, I suppose.
Yeah, and it depends on how much in the way they are. Because ultimately you've kind of, sometimes it's an old flame that just won't go away, and those sorts of moments, or if it's a proper love triangle where there isn't a complete ensnarement, then those are trickier to do because you don't know how far the vines are. And I find lots of people try the kind of uncrossings and kind of, cut the vines, and actually find out they only cut the top vines and not the roots. And then suddenly, they disappear for 6 months and then they come back. And that becomes like a rolling experience. Whereas if you're going to remove something, you need to make sure it's removed roots and or, so it's not coming back. And the cleanest way to do that is to you know, send them crazy, put them in a coma, or kill them off. But those are all methods. Those are all methods that the Fausty Witch would use, you know.
Well, I mean, if they're turning to you and they're saying, he'll never love you the way he loves me, the bitch has got to die. They've all but admitted it, you know? So, sorry, you've sealed your fate if you say that. Any other comments, or should we turn to some more positive forms of love magic?
Okay, go on.
Yeah. So I was thinking about love in terms of, rather than love spells, love magic, actually love as an energy source. So you might not be wanting to do love magic per se, but you may want to use love as an energy concept to power your spells. I can think of actually a lot of people that would use protective magic or create protections, levels of protection, protective spells, that kind of thing, on someone they do love, and use their love for them, that energy, that gooey kind of thing, I suppose people feel, in order to power that spell. Potentially other power sources as well, but actually love as a force of power. We do kind of see it echoed, I see it echoed in television styles of magic and films, like the whole Harry Potter thing. The mother's love for her son did some sort of protection or something like that, you know, that sort of shit. That kind of thing. So going about using that, how does one go about putting an emotion into a spell in order to help power it, potentially? Have you got any go-to techniques?
So it kind of depends, because it depends on that relationship that you've got. I think familial bonds are very easy for this to naturally happen without you necessarily needing to actually put it officially into a spell. So, like, you know, with the Harry Potter reference and the mother's love kind of part, that is a natural kind of defense magic of its own. Because let's face it, 99% of moms will automatically go into that self-sacrifice mode, and you'll see that when you meet people, that energy is tacit. You can see it there. You know, the same with siblings. You know, the siblings that are protected and the siblings that are not. You know quite clearly where the hierarchy is within a group of siblings. And those sorts of things are quite tacitly aware. You can see them without really actually having to engage all that much. And those kind of energetic protections will naturally occur. You know, not to make it too sappy and kind of suggest what J.K. Rowling is doing there, and obviously being about the kind of palpable power that love is. As it, you know, lots of cultures consider it to be magic of its own. So, you know, it's a difficult one to kind of unknot there. In terms of kind of protection magic, obviously, for me, you know how I feel about the term protection magic. Generally speaking, because, you know, I don't see the point of generic protection magic, and I still say, you know, best protection is preparedness. So, you know, regular cleansing, regular what's the other word I want? Grounding and cleaning. Those are your best ways to stay well protected. In terms of protecting loved ones, again, those can be dangerous setups, because if you're putting yourself in as the shield, the shield is there to get beaten. So what kind of power, you know, ensnarement are you actually encouraging there? If you're going to be the shield, obviously there are two kinds of protection magic in its purest sense. One is the shield, the other is the sword. So which of those are you actually trying to be in that situation?
But what if the cloak
exactly
hiding in plain sight?
The cloak to me is a type of shield. So sorry, I consider that to be part there.
That's very true.
I was expecting you to go for the other third, which would be the bow and arrow, but that's just a sword at a distance. So I kind of got an answer both ways, Liam, regardless. But I'm in that kind of reductive way that I like to do it. It is two. There is the offensive method and the defensive method, and you will fit into one of those two naturally. But they both have their pros and cons. So, the shield often is, more protective of the person that you're trying to protect. But ultimately, you're going to potentially be the one that's taking the beating. Whereas the sword method always comes down to skill. So it's only going to hold as long as you have the skill to defend that off. But that's I've now suddenly forgot the point of that, Liam, and was focusing on the protective aspect.
Well, I don't know, Chris, but this is correct, Chris. So you're on the right track. Well done. I do use charge and release for money spells for spells where I need a quick result. Okay, so if you need a quick result, that kind of
charge and release.
Charge and release. Use sigils to steal love from others. Obviously, Eric would do that, wouldn't he? It's nasty. And discharge it in an attraction bag. So he uses sigil to steal love from others and discharge it in an attraction bag. Is he a little nasty blighter, this Eric? I mean, stealing love?
Well, he's a greedy one, isn't he? He did already say he likes both. So, he's one of those greedy buggers that just wants everybody else's love.
We know a little bit too much about you, Eric. The others might not, but we do. Screw love spells. I'd prefer invisibility. Right, okay. Well, we may do a show on invisibility later on, because I fucked up invisibility spells quite a lot, and others have fucked up invisibility spells quite a lot. These are witches that are very young, impressionable, and go through such pain will often use as their first glamour a form of invisibility. We all talk about glamours as, attracting, making yourself look like a pretty tart, that kind of thing. Going out on the pool type glamours, but a lot of magical practitioners in reality, I think, use glamour magic to repel and push people away and not be noticed, not for nefarious reasons, but because they just don't like people. Would you say that's accurate?
Yeah, I'm not as you can imagine, I'm not particularly a fan of invisibility spells. I have used them, but I'm not very good at blending in general. It's not a natural skill I have.
Life and soul of the party? Is that what you're saying?
I am life and soul of the party. I can't help that.
You need to be sent attention, do you? Are you like a Leo or something?
No, I don't need to be centre of attention, but I like everything that I'm involved in to be efficient. So if a party I get to is boring, then I feel the need to take charge and fix it. So not really not really about being centre of attention. I don't really like that. I just don't like time being wasted. So if I'm being forced to be at a function, it's going to be a good one. So yeah, I'm just one of those that's very, very quickly picks up on what needs fixing and will just jump to work to fix it. Take that as you will.
So love as a weapon then.
Oh, my favorite method.
Yeah. So obviously from your perspective, it's not going to be something you have to think about because it's just your natural inclination towards nasty forms of magic like that. That means you probably do that easily. But for the person, imagine the person that's quite sweet, loving, and for the first time wants to experiment with nastier forms of magic. They're quite good with love spells, love magic, getting people to fall in love, all that shit. and they want to use love in a more offensive way because they're used to that energy. How would one go about efficiently using love as a weapon, and what form might that take, or manifestations may occur from it?
My kind of favorite. This sounds awful and is totally oversharing.
That's why I asked, because you're going to say something terrible.
I will say it anyway.
Everyone's going to know finally that you're the bad one and I'm the good one.
I may be the bad one, Liam, but I'm still the more likable. Huh.
I don't think so. I think, bitch, he's lying.
The fuck you lying? Why you always lying? Oh my god, stop fucking lying.
I've got the buttons, remember? I've got the buttons. Anyway, carry on your trail of thought.
So really, you need to have one that reminds everybody of how much of a robot you are. And clicking buttons is how you deflect. But so yeah, my thought process was to overshare and to basically say my favorite method. I'm not saying this is one I use, but it's my favorite one I like to see. Is when people kind of use the Venus flytrap. So, you know, which is the sickly sweet aroma that brings in what's needed and then ensnare and absorb.
So you'd say that you use people. You're basically admitting to being a user of people, attracting people with your charisma,
uniqueness, nerve, and talent,
and then just using them when they get close until you drain them of all of their energy, life force, and they just wither and die. Is that what you're saying?
Yes, I'm talking about my charisma, uniqueness, nerve, and talent. Right. I'm very good at using it. But my point is that what I find is so interesting about the Venus flytrap is that essentially the aroma it is leaking out is not a sweet one. It smells of rotting flesh, which is what brings the insects in, because they're going in to go, oh, tasty treat. So I quite love the fact that actually it's that air of bullshit that brings in the tasty morsel that you need to eat. That is...
So all this bullshit you spout is to attract other bullshitters so you can then feed upon them?
Yes.
Oh, I see. Now that's one hell of an excuse, Chris. I'm impressed.
thus making me far more useful, because I am removing the bullshitters from existence, which means I'm doing a service, a charitable service, and absorbing them.
I believe this is what they mean by drinking one's own Kool-Aid.
Hey, the last person that should be making those sorts of comments is fucking you. But that is oversharing. Right.
The last person
everyone's finding
making those comments is fucking me.
No. You are the person fucking you. So, you know, it's the rest.
I'm the person fucking me. Well, I did take that time when I was told to go fuck myself, quite literally.
Yes. And you made it a lifelong ambition and profession. So well done, you.
You're talking about my OnlyFans again, aren't you? I need to make a meme for that, but I don't think that would be allowed on YouTube.
I don't think it would either.
Right, we've got about 5 minutes left, Chris, and I feel like we should talk about love in those last 5 minutes because it's a podcast on love. And I think this is actually getting re-released on the 1st of December for the Fausty Witches 2022 calendar, isn't it? So
obviously,
on the first day of Christmas, my true love gave to me. That's what I see as love as a weapon. You know, when you're talking about using love, ensnaring someone, so all they do is whatever you say. That's slavery, isn't it? That's kind of like slavery. A lot of our
it's called marriage.
But a lot of our patrons are talking a lot more about love slaves as basically sex objects, whereas actually in terms of utilizing a sycophant, I suppose it is. The love is a sycophant. The person is a sycophant. They're in love and adore and will do anything for you. You know, that kind of approach. That's nasty, baneful, evil magic. I know there's quite a popular opinion with a lot of the people that know better that there's black magic, dark magic, hexes, curses, that kind of thing. But then there's all nicey, love and lighty kind of stuff. Realistically, let's be fair. You can utilize anything for good or bad. You can use hateful, negative energies. You can use curses, hexes for good, nice purposes that are for the greater good, you know. But you can also utilize love and nice and sweetness in a bad way. So do you have a story or anything that you could share with us where you've utilized something kind of sweet, nice, stereotypically love and lighty energy for something not particularly nice? Bonus points if it involves a quartz crystal.
I was going to say
variety.
I was going to say I assumed you meant ultimately, you know, instantly. I assumed you meant how I like to go and corrupt rose quartz in other metaphysical stores, but that I don't think that is nefarious enough for what you're talking about, really.
Well, you can probably get more nefarious than cursing rose quartz crystals in occult stores. Obviously, if you did want a rose quartz crystal and be sure that it was not hex curse in any way, shape, or form, the only place you could possibly in the world buy that from would be the Fausty Witchcraft shop, because we don't shit on our own doorstep.
No, of course not. So, whereas actually, but that comes out of a long hatred of, you know, Cunningham. So, you know, that particular breed is because I don't like the colour pink, never have, never will. And a stone that everybody fawns over as being something attractive and useful for attraction magic and love magic is not. If you were trying to attract me, you're better off using something like turquoise or obsidian. Yes, a good polished black mirror is good.
I mean, that also appeals to your vanity, doesn't it?
Definitely.
Mirror is a shiny object, you know.
Yes,
that works on two levels. It's black like its soul, and yet polished, shiny like a mirror.
Like all my best glamours, yeah. Whereas no, it doesn't matter how well you polish rose quartz. I don't like how I look in it. So it's a no for me. But no, I'm trying to think of a more nefarious way. I'm not a big one for love magic. I don't really do any. Because I have the magic that matters, which is I love myself.
You were born with a strong sense of loving oneself. I'm sure everyone that knows you would probably say that.
Yeah.
And I think that's the nicest way to say that.
It's important. You should love yourself first and foremost. And then only when you love yourself can actually you really love other people. And, you know, however cliche that is, it's cliche because it's the truth. Because ultimately, how will you ever really experience love? Because actually, basing it on what other people give you as your only source of receiving it, you will always have an unnatural attachment to receiving that. And that's where people become that kind of constant need of getting that. I need people to love me. I need people to love me. When you love yourself, you don't need that.
Are there exceptions to the rules? Because they say there's an exception to every rule. So what about the little emo goth girl that used to cut herself in maths with the compass, and she hated herself, But then she found the little emo kid goth boy and they fell in love. And he helped her through the loving relationship blossom into someone that wears less black. You know, what about that? There's something to be said for maybe meeting a partner that actually turns your life around or helps you, surely. Or is that just fantasy and not real?
I'm not saying that's fantasy. What I'm saying is that's rare. It's rare that somebody meets somebody else that's love of them is transformative enough for you to start loving yourself, because that's what you're talking about. There is the exception to the rule, which is in the act of actually finding someone that can love you for all that you are, actually transforming that so that you actually love yourself, I think is rarer than people actually finding a way to love themselves. And at the end of the day, once someone starts to love and feels comfortable in their own skin, I find that those people become very attractive. We're not talking about narcissism there. We're not talking about someone loving themselves in an unhealthy, unbalanced way. We're talking about someone being comfortable in their own skin.
Well, there's all of this idea of the like dating coaches and stuff like that teach you how to, you know, pull people, or to how to, you know, get a girlfriend or a boyfriend or whatever the fuck it is you want. If you're Eric, obviously all of those and more. He wants at least 2 girlfriends and 2 boyfriends at any one time. But anyway, they teach you to be the person that isn't you, the person that you think another person's going to want. What is attractive, but it's a facade that the person has to put up, which is a lot of energy. It's not really them, and generally you can see through it quite easily, as opposed to, yes, people can transform and become a better version of themselves, yeah, but that is a better version of themselves. It's not a better version by being someone different, you know. But there we go. I think that's it for the first episode of Fausty Witches season 2. We are back, you know, and better and faustier and nastier than ever. We hope you enjoyed it. And for the several people that are remaining that we haven't overly offended, well done. You must clearly also be Fausty Witches too. Goodbye, everyone. Chris, wave. Wave. You got to wave as the credits go. Yeah, wave as the credits go past. Bye.